Hello, everybody. Welcome to A New Way to Think. My name is Hurdy Burke, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going through a transition of personal growth, business growth, and leadership in my own personal life. And as I was thinking about starting something I thought would benefit other folks, I decided why not start a small little teleconference with some coaches around the Austin area and give people a chance to come in and meet some of the different coaches and see what they offer, but just to get some thought process going and maybe thinking a little bit to the results of your business. So tonight I have on Danielle Smith, who, by the way, is my personal coach, John Maxwell certified, and several other coach certifications. So Danny, welcome.
Thanks, Hurdy. I'm glad to be here.
All right, well, listen, our crack staff came up with a lot of questions for you. Ha, ha, ha. That would be you. And we've got a list of questions tonight I'd like to go through with you. Before we start those questions, you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you don't have to go all the way back.
Yeah. How did I get into coaching? Well, we'll cover some of this in a few minutes, I think, with at least one of the questions you're going to ask. But let me just, as the transition from being a trainer to a coach and the difference between being a trainer and a coach, and and I'll get into that with one of your questions. I know you're going to ask me here in a few minutes,
yep,
but
I am.
I will say this: I started doing training as a means to create business for my mortgage business. It started off helping people understand their personalities and the difference personalities make, and understanding the personalities in a person's life. That was the first training I did. Actually, Hurdy, that's not true. The first training I did, it was prior to the mortgage business, was over 30 years ago. I was a scuba instructor, and the way you really make money in a scuba shop is to teach scuba lessons, and people buy scuba equipment. Of course, you made a little money off of the instructions also. I took that into the mortgage business by doing training around personalities, and then personalities in selling, and then doing training, mortgage training that attracted mortgage loan officers to me. And then that flowed all the way through into the training I did around guerrilla marketing and leadership and such.
All right, excellent. Well, so Danny, then you are an executive coach and considered a sales trainer and virtual sales manager. Is that correct?
Yes, those are three roles I regularly engage in.
What is a virtual sales manager?
Hurdy, one of my strengths has been looking back, working on my purpose, my mission. If you've ever been through that, I know you have, and you start looking at, okay, where have you excelled in life, and what energized you? What do people say you're really good at, and does it match up with what you like to do? And started looking at the sales teams I've built over the years, and being in business, entrepreneur now, not having a staff, not having salespeople. I thought, well, I still want to build sales teams, so I decided I'm going to be a virtual sales manager, and I have people that are in a program I have, and we're on sales calls. We're on sales training, sales accountability type, sales mentorship calls 3 times a week, and so I'm still building sales teams. It's just that I don't have any direct, I don't get an override. You're in that program. Others are in that program. I don't get an override, but I get paid for being your sales manager.
And so I guess as the sales coach, the trainer, and the virtual sales manager, tell me, is there some sort of correlation between all these roles?
Yeah, when I'm an executive coach, I'm with an individual executive, whether I'm on the phone with them or face-to-face, or I'm in a group of people at a corporation. a lot of that's about questions that I ask. If it's individuals or the group, and getting the group to work together and correspond together, there's a lot of influence. And I'm trying to, if you and I are in a one-to-one coaching situation, I'm asking you questions, trying to help you dig deeper. As a sales coach, it's the same thing. I feel that most people know how to sell. It goes back to dating. You started dating and sometime as a teenager, and you didn't have to be really told how to do that. It was just something you naturally. And I think many of us naturally know how to sell, but there's things that's kept us from being a good salesperson. So I'm asking you questions around my coaching role. Same thing as a trainer. As a sales manager, a lot of it is influence and leaders. Executive coach, I'm trying to be a good leader there by helping somebody through their understand themselves better. It's not about me necessarily telling somebody what to do. Let me go ahead. Let me talk about something for a second. Let me give the difference between a coach, trainer,
and a mentor.
And a mentor. Yeah, you've heard me talk about this before. So this, and then I can back up on your other question a little bit.
Okay.
A trainer, it's kind of like an educator. Now, I don't mean to slight any educator out there, but let's say somebody's teaching marketing in a university. That person doesn't have to have any experience out marketing. They maybe have never worked for a advertising and marketing firm, but yet they're teaching advertising and marketing. So a trainer, it's an academia thing. I can go and learn how to use a program, and I've never really engaged in that program outside of the academia. Well, that's a trainer. A trainer doesn't have to have experience, and a trainer is telling somebody how to do something. Let's switch over to a mentor. A mentor, and I'm using this in the purest forms, and it's going to be real important to understand this as we talk about the coaching role. A mentor, I've got experience running a mortgage company, being a mortgage loan officer. I can mentor somebody around those roles, speaking into experience. A mentor speaks into experience. It's not just, it can be some academia, but it's speaking really into experience. Now, I've worked with a lot of realtors. In my mortgage role, in my virtual sales manager role, I work with realtors. Have had a couple of hundred realtors through my Stop Wasting Handshakes program. And I understand realtors pretty well, but you know what? I could never mentor a realtor in the functions, in the task of being a realtor, getting listings, selling. And I'm very careful about that realtors come through my boot camp, my sales and marketing program. I can't mentor them, as their pure role as a realtor. Their role in sales and in marketing, I can mentor them, but not in the real deep role of a realtor. Let's go over to being a coach, though. Being a coach, I have a client that is a president of a company that he has a degree in, I think, biochemical engineering. I coach him. I coach some engineers at his company. They weld in a clean room, and I coach them. I also coach a executive in Dallas that's with a mortgage company. There's things they're doing in their mortgage company, some areas that I don't have much experience in that particular area. I'm coaching, executive that's with a firm here in town. I have no experience in, but the coaching is different. The pure coaching, I'm not talking about training, I'm not talking about mentoring. The pure coaching is, let me use the example of throwing a football. If you come to me and say, Danny, show me how to throw this football, and I show you how to grip the ball, hold it, on the back 1/3 or so, and you step back. I'm right-handed. You put your right arm, you know what I'm talking about. Put your left arm out. You step into it and you throw that. Then you grip around the seams just right, and you throw that spiral. I'm going to show you that right there is training. I'm training you how to do it. But if I tell you, I think, Hurdy, you intuitively you can throw that football. And I tell you to throw it, and you throw it, and I say, how'd that feel? Well, it didn't feel pretty good. And let's say you threw it sideways. And you keep, we'll try it again. Well, how else, Hurdy, could you try that? How else could you throw it? And and so intuitively, and when you finally get it, and that ball just sails and spirals real pretty, and you go, whoa, that was good. And I say, how did it feel? It felt good. We'll do it again, and you're not sure what you did. I said, well, what else could you do different? And you talk about what else? There's so many different paths to the right answer.
Right.
But the more you try it on your own, the more I help you figure out how to do it. My mentor, my coaching mentor, a man named Christian Simpson, he does this with the first time I saw him do this almost 3 years ago, I thought I was a pretty good coach. And you know what he did? He taught me how to juggle, and he never once gave me any training, gave me any advice. He helped me figure out how to juggle. He came to the conversation. He came to that moment where he's got me juggling. He came to it with the presupposition that I already knew how. And when I do that in the pure executive coaching role, that doesn't mean I don't step out of and I'll say, Hurdy, do you mind if I step out of the coaching role and give you some training? Yes, or give you some advice. And if you give me permission, and I've had people not give me permission. I've had people say, no, Danny, I want you to keep asking me questions. And that's where I've gotten frustrated with coaches myself in the past. I'm trying to figure this out, and they're trying to give me more advice. And I've just backed off of coaching because I don't want to be dependent upon a coach. So my belief, what I've learned is that if I'm coaching you through the process and I'm just asking you, some questions and helping you dig into the answers, I'm helping you get rid of all that baggage that's in your consciousness, so that you can learn to get to the answer yourself, and you don't have to have so much help. That's the true coaching role. There's a lot of silence involved in a true coaching session. Probably the longest I've been through is probably about 3.5 minutes of silence. Most people can't handle it any more than that. I asked you a question. You come, the normal executive coaching role, you come to and a lot of this is done on the phone. We have a scheduled time. You come in and you give me the topic, and then you give me a goal that you want to achieve during that hour to hour and a half we're on the phone. And we start talking, and I start asking you questions through that. We're going to go around. We're going to talk about the reality. We're going to talk about some opportunities. We're going to be talking about then how are we going to move forward through this? And I'm really, if it's been a great coaching session, all I did was ask you questions. I never gave you any advice, no teaching. That's a pure coaching role. And that's why that on John Maxwell team, we talk about being speakers, coaches, and trainers, and we really differentiate between that coaching and training. So anyway, long explanation. So I come back to the correlation between those roles, and me as an executive coach, me as a virtual sales manager, me as a sales coach, even a trainer. I don't know if we mentioned that or not. Those are pretty distinctive roles. But what ties them all together there is the influence, the proper influence, that I'm influencing correctly as I'm asking questions in the coaching role, that I'm influencing correctly in a training role. So anyway, that's kind of
good. Yeah, that's good. That's a great description of that. And the one thing I didn't hear you say was the word advice. So you're not giving advice to folks, which I think is an important key, right? People don't want to feel like they're being told what to do. They want to be led up a road, up a path, correct?
Yeah, and I want to be careful about that word led. I'm in a coaching session. I'm not giving advice. If we're talking about the coaching session, I'm not giving advice. And I'm also not trying to lead you anywhere. I'm not trying. Okay. All I'm trying. The only leading is to go deeper into your own knowledge and get past some baggage and stuff. I'm not trying to lead you to an answer at all. The deal is I do not know the answer. I've had many coaching sessions where people at the end had said, "Did you know what my answer was?" And I'll go, "Nope, had no idea what you were going to come up with." I can't help but have some ideas, and I'm hoping one of these days, as my coaching improves, that I will be able to separate myself, my thoughts from any ideas, because I don't want to ask questions that would lead to an answer that I have in my head.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I wanted to clarify that. I know we've talked about that before, but I just wanted to hear you say that for the to the folks, so they understood that there wasn't an advice and it wasn't leading down a path. Okay. All right. So let's talk about. I think you got a little bit into it, but we hear the term executive coach quite a bit frequently in the coaching world. What does an executive coach do, Danny?
We cover some of this, is that I want to help a person understand their role better. I want them to come to a better understanding of who they are. I want to help them. We all have this comfort zone. If you think of your mind, the top half of your mind is your consciousness, and the bottom half of your mind is your subconscious. We think with our consciousness. Our results, really, our actions and behaviors that lead to results come out of our subconscious. And that subconscious that stores our emotions, it stores our beliefs. Now, we can throw some stuff in there, we can think some things, and we can act differently for just small points in time. Maxwell Maltz, in his book Psycho-Cybernetics, said something like that one cannot long outperform their self-image. So I set a goal that I want to do something that I'm not normally capable of doing, that I haven't done before, and I might be able to strive to get that goal, but I'm going to fall back into my comfort zone.
Right.
If it's a long goal, let's say that I want to make 10 cold calls today, and if I've never made 10 cold calls, what's happening is that my subconscious is going to try to keep me from doing that, because the subconscious is responsible for reality. maintaining realities. That's where my beliefs and my emotions are. And I think I'm going to make 10 calls today. Oh my goodness, you'll come up with everything in the world. Kind of like me when I get ready to do my taxes every year. I start cleaning closets. I start cleaning the garage. And it gets down to that last day that for me to file them, and I'm coming up with all kinds of things to do to keep me from. I'll do anything to keep from filing. I just got this thing that's about filing my taxes. Well, that happens every day in an executive's world. Okay, and my goal as an executive coach is to help that executive coach get past what he understands to be reality. Okay,
right.
But a lot of times that might be around a person that works for you, and you think, I need that person. That person has to work for me. I can't upset that person too long or too much. They might quit and go somewhere else. But yet that person might be causing some problems inside the company. And so helping that executive think through that process, to better understand why they keep people on board, why things are happening or not happening. Especially get a lot of businesses as they start building. That owner of that business, that president, the visionary person gets in the business, and they've got all of these ideas. They start building the business, and the business starts taking over. And they quit coming up with ideas. They stop being creative, and the business will overcome them. The business starts trying to build literally out in front of that visionary, that person that started the business. And the business will die unless somebody is thinking out in front of it. That's why my tagline on my website is helping people build themselves out in front of their business. That's right. That's the executive coach, helping somebody understand, as it's talked about in the book E-Myth, the Entrepreneur Myth, that in every successful business, there's a visionary person, there's a manager person, and then there's I'm going to change it up here a little bit. The book calls technician, but that's the person that gives the value. That's the person that's delivering the value. So it's not necessarily the pure technician as we think of normally in IT world. Technicians are a mechanic nowadays called a technician. Right. Other the fact that mechanics delivering the value working on the car. And if you're running a garage, that's your value, but that you're delivering, but you still have to have somebody manage the business, and you've got to have somebody that has the vision about the business and where the business is going. Those three roles are always important. So so as I'm working with executives, that I'm constantly thinking about that. Those three roles being performed in his business. And is he or she building themselves out in front of the business? I think it was, I just thought about this, what's the guy's name? Branson that owns Virgin Airlines, the multi-billionaire over in the UK. He was quoted in somebody sent me this article a while back, and he said that the day that he quits having more ideas than his business is producing is the day his business starts dying.
And wow, that's just such a big truth, because I know that when I first started working with you, Danny, one of the things that jumped out at me is that building yourself in front of your business. You think that that's understood, but doesn't really hit you till you realize, wow, I've got to be doing this or I'm in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, that's my opinion. All right, so question for you. So I'm going through a couple of your mastermind groups. I know what they are. But what is a mastermind group? You do several of these, and how do you work or do this as an executive coach? What is a mastermind group first?
Well, a mastermind, and this stems from the word, and it is being It's been watered down a lot in the last few years. Say especially I've really come to notice how much it's watered down the last 2 or 3 years. People hold these big conventions; they call them masterminds. You go back to the origination of it, and it came out of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, it's something that those guys did back at the turn from going from the 19th to the 20th century, around the late 18, early 1900s. These men, it's what they primarily were, I believe, these men would get together and talk about things that they wanted to do. They were like-minded men with different thoughts, focusing on a common goal. All right? Napoleon Hill come along. I'm sorry?
I said, yep, I'm with you. Okay.
And Napoleon Hill comes along. Andrew Carnegie in part financed Napoleon Hill to study all of these multi-millionaires, back in the early 1900s. Okay, literally paid part of his, paid him a fee to study. Tell me what's making is there any commonalities? One of the commonalities was masterminding. And that's, and Napoleon Hill writes about it in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And the way he describes it, it's like-minded people with different thoughts, focusing on a common goal around a certain set of materials.
Awesome.
So in essence, you take a book. I've got one group that we're going through a book called Renewable Referrals. And we're going through it, just 2 or 3 pages. I mean, literally, we get through about 3 pages in 45 minutes. Now, this is a group that's a strategic referral partnership, a group of, we have 12, 13, 14 men and women that get together once a week to talk about our business. And we're going through this book to help us understand how to be strategic referral partners, and to really make that work, to build that trust. That I will refer you, you'll refer me. Not just refer, you'll be thinking about me.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Right. So we come together, and as an executive coach, I'm in a role there really as an executive coach. All I'm there is to ask questions. All right, here on page 13, right here, it says such and such. What do y'all think about that? And start thinking about it, and then start digging down. Okay, what else might the author be saying here? One thing we don't do, we're not there to criticize the author. We're there to dig into what the author is saying. And before we reject it, we come to understand it. Now, we're not there to really, in a mastermind, you're not there to reject what an author of some material is saying. What we're there for, we're there to understand. Now, let me back up for a second. It brought up another thought, is that what in my executive role, one of the things that I do is I want people, and I do the same thing in the training role, in the mentor. You've heard me say this: never reject something you don't understand. If I tell somebody to do it in my sales and marketing program, we come up with some different ideas, some different pathways, some different processes, and I tell them in the first introductory recording that they pull offline, a big part of that is don't reject something you don't understand. You come to understand, you come to understand why I'm saying that, and you want to reject it. Okay, fine, reject it, but don't reject it too soon. The same thing in a mastermind group. What we're trying to do, we're trying to understand what the author is saying. And this is right out of the book, How to Read a Book. Okay, if you've ever read that, the Love is a Killer app talks about how to read a book. It's right there in that book, is that you understand what the author's saying. You don't try to beat up the author in the process of reading his book. Because you probably, if you do that, if you have that mindset, you're missing something. So in a mastermind, you're there. You're not going to all agree, but you're to get everybody's thoughts about it. And it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing what can come out of that and how your thinking shifts and you start to understand something. You go, huh, kind of like this. I was on the phone with a guy today. He hasn't been a client in probably about 6 months. And he sent me an email. I called, thanked him for the email. And he says to me, he says, Danny, a day goes by that I'm not in the process of doing something, and I think, okay, am I a $5,000 a month thinker, or am I a $5,000 a day thinker? See, there's a difference there. There's a big difference. And in a mastermind group, if you start thinking like what's Branson's name? You start thinking about like a Michael Gates. You start thinking about like a Warren Buffett. Those are guys that read an hour or two a day. And they will tell you it's not just because they're rich that they read an hour or two a day. It's not just because they're rich that they journal for 30 minutes to an hour a day on top of the reading day, but they did that to get to where they are. Okay, Branson, I've got how many? I mean, he spends an incredible amount of time reading biographies because he thinks at a higher level than where he's at.
Wow.
And that's what a mastermind is about. That's my role as an executive coach, as I'm there in that leading that mastermind group, or if I'm leading an individual, okay, in a one-to-one session. Okay, I've got a young lady. She's 30 years old. Is as sharp as a tack, high energy, a real high I personality. She's an ID, which it can be a recipe for disaster if they're not coached. And I've been coaching her for 8 months now, and every week for an hour. And I've watched this lady grow. Never met her. We talk on the phone, and she's that high ID personality, but got a lot of ideas. Can have her wear her feelings on the sleeve a lot of times. That's just a natural thing there for that ID personality. But the thing is to help her think through that. Okay, help her get through that comfort zone. To step up, as Maxwell would say, to help her raise her lid and not keep falling back into a comfort zone. Because a lot of times that comfort zone, rarely does a comfort zone serve us very well. Anyway, I think I got off onto a rabbit trail.
No, that's fine. I enjoyed it. Thank you, and that's great information. So you ready to switch gears a little bit?
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about sales. I know that, Danny, you've got a pretty extensive sales and marketing program. What's different about it?
A lot of what we've already been talking about. I mean, I walk out, what I'm trying to do is my sales program is built off of what I call the 5 pillars of sales and marketing mastery. Okay, and but I could teach you something in a lesson and it's forgotten the next day. Okay, in an hour, life takes over and boom, it's gone. Okay,
it's gone.
And two big things: the 5 pillars of sales and marketing mastery,
right?
Which is the people, processes, platform, purpose, and perception. The most important of that is perception. Okay, people are important. Don't get me wrong there, but you understanding it's the perception. What is your perception of something? Okay, sure. We got a lesson about perception that we keep circling back to, and but the thing, but what makes it work is the spaced repetition, and by that is, we have 12 lessons. They're recorded. There are live lessons that I recorded with worksheets. They're 30 to 45. Well, I think one of them is close to an hour long. They're all online. They're on demand. But then every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have a mentorship call. And that's the spaced repetition there. I'll come back to that in a second. Numerous times per week, participants get emails from me. And those emails, for the most part, they have very little to do with sales and marketing. What they have to do with is perception and purpose. Okay? Because the more we realize our purpose and we think into our purpose, the more our potential rises up. Now, I don't know your audience and who's listening to this, and so this is just for me. This is my belief. This is where I'm coming from. A person, I'm of the Christian belief. Person doesn't have to be a Christian to be in my programs. Anyway, so is that I believe I'm made in the image of God. Well, you think about being made in the image of God, then you have a whole lot of potential, right?
Yeah.
If you're made in the image of God, you have incredible potential. Well, I don't believe any of us live near to our potential. Well, the more you think into your purpose, the more your potential starts rising up. The more your potential starts rising up, the more opportunities appear. Opportunities are everywhere, but you can't see them because you're blinded by them because you don't realize your potential. So we back up there on purpose, on the subject of purpose, one of those 5 pillars, and that purpose. It's not just knowing what your purpose is in life. It's all the way down to what's my purpose for being on this phone call with Herdy tonight? What's my purpose for going to a networking meeting tonight? I've got a meeting with 3 other John Maxwell coaches next Tuesday for 3 hours. What's my purpose for going there? Okay. I go onto a phone call tomorrow morning. What's my purpose? Had a realtor email me something. Has been one of my programs. Emailed me a flyer, a while back, and said, "Hey, do you think I ought to go to this?" I didn't even look at it, to be honest with you. Seriously, I did not look at it. What's your purpose for being there? He sent back.
You ask me that all the time.
Yeah. He sent me back. He said, "Never mind." Well, he said, "Never mind." I opened up the email to see, really look at it, see what it was. It was a after hours, a title company was having an after hours deal, free drinks, free appetizers. And you know what? If his purpose was to go there and eat and drink, that'd been a great thing to go too. Right. I asked him when I saw him a few days later, I said, "Why didn't you go to that?" He says, "Because, I was thinking about it being a networking deal. There's nobody there for me to network with, to have possible business from." And I said, "Why do you think most of those people went there that did go?" And he said, "Probably just they thought they were networking, but they were really there just to eat and drink." Right. But too many times we think that we're there to do more than that. But so understanding our purpose, understanding the purpose of sending the email, some little something like this, Herdy, and we're probably way off track here, but what's your purpose for sending an email? Well, the purpose in the emails is to tell somebody something, ask advice, give an answer. Well, there's also a marketing purpose there. That's why emails need to be purposeful. And this is one of the things that we harp on, and the minor things that make such a big difference. Never send an email that doesn't have your name at the bottom. It doesn't have to be Danny Smith. It doesn't have to be Danny L. Smith, but your name and your phone number on there. The exception is if it's an email string. If there's an email string going on, in other words, you send me an email, I answer back, but then ask you a question, and we're back and forth. Okay, take the signatures off of it so you don't have to scroll so long. Okay,
exactly.
Seriously, take all that stuff off of it that doesn't need to be there after the first, at least the second round. And but that's why you see 3 or 4 or 5 different signatures from me, because I mix it up a little bit. Where do I want Herdy to land? People, processes, platforms, purpose, and perception. So I want you to land on a platform. I want you to look at that and go, oh, Danny's put his LinkedIn URL on there. Click, and you go to my platform. You go to that platform. It's Michael Hyatt and his book platform, his online, michaelhyatt.com. Great stuff. You direct people. That's the process. That's a part of the process. So my boot camp is full of this. We got, we're trying to change your perception. We're trying to get you to talk about your purpose so you can reach into your potential. And potential is not one of the 5 pillars of sales marketing mastery, but it's what we're trying to get you to understand more of yourself that way. And then there's processes, and then there's platforms, and there's people involved all over the place. Now, yeah, we teach you a lot of other stuff about typical sales and marketing. We don't get into negotiations. We're mainly talking about how do you stay engaged with people for weeks, months, and years. So when they think about you, or when they think about needing, in your case, I want to start doing some YouTube advertising. I'm going to start doing some YouTube videos. I'm going to start, and they think, man, I met a guy 3 or 4 years ago that did some video, and he's doing something with YouTube. But, man, I hadn't seen that guy in a long time. Why am I remembering him? Well, it's because you've caused him to come into, or you've caused you to come into their awareness on and off over that period of time. And that's what the sales and marketing boot camp and ongoing program is all about.
Yeah, and Danny, that's a good place for us to, for me to ask you about this. Where can we direct people? What website do you like to direct them to read about your mastermind groups and your master boot camps?
Yep, you can go to DannyLSmith.com. DannyLSmith.com. There's a resources tab right there that will lead you over to it leads you to Sales and Marketing Virtual Bootcamp.com. But it tells all about that right there.
And this is that 12-week course, correct?
Yeah, it's really hardy. I've expanded it.
Okay.
It's a 12-lesson, 24-week course that has the 12 on-demand lessons, and then there are three calls per week, 3 mentorship calls per week. Each call is a 15 to 20-minute lesson around some area of sales, marketing, and or leadership, and then with a Q&A for the rest of the hour. All of those calls are recorded and put on the members-only site. So if somebody comes in today, they will have access to the recordings, the lessons. They start getting emails just like it is their first day, and then they get these emails that come out to them, directing them through the process. But then they also have access to, right now, I think there's, some recordings haven't been up there. Once in a while somebody else say something, I decide not to put that recording up. And if it's an important topic we were talking about, I'll redo that topic at another time. I think there's around between 55, 60 mentorship recordings there in the mentorship site.
And I can say personally, Danny, being part of that 12-week class and participating weekly on these calls, it's been very life-changing for my personal growth and business growth. They're awesome. I'm going to recommend that anybody that comes back and listens to this on demand, make sure they go visit the site, and I would even go so far as say just step out and sign up. It will be one of the best decisions you ever make. So I thought I'd just give you a little kudos on that. Okay.
Well, thanks. And back to the question you asked a while ago, what makes it? What's different about it? What's different about it? It is those calls, but it's the observational learning. one thing that I really push people to do is to be an observational thinker. Okay, observe what's going on and think into what is going on around them. On those calls, we have people every day call in, and there's a few people that have never said a word in the calls. They're just listening. And that's okay. They're observationally learning. And what I'm hoping they're doing, they're thinking into, they're listening to the question. Somebody come on yesterday and talked about a new new marketing product that they've been given access to, and he said, I'm trying to figure out here, should I just start offering this to everybody, or should I start making this part of the 8-point follow-through system that we teach? And so asked a few questions, and I don't know if you were on there yesterday or not, but we landed on both. And some different ways. Now I got a phone call today, and we talked about a little bit more of it. We're going to be talking on tomorrow morning's 8 a.m. call. Might talk a little bit about it there. Sometimes we're going in depth. Somebody's asking some questions about an autoresponder for their CRM and such. So that so we're starting to get into more advanced type stuff, and brand new people are going to get access to that. And some of them they're not know what we're talking about, but they listen to it. They go through the whole program. They come back to those recordings, and then we'll have more. And it just starts building on each other, and because we're all at a different level. But it's that observational thinking. It's just learning how to be alive, be aware. John Eldredge, the author of Wild at Heart and Waking the Dead, he describes he said most of us walk through life alert and oriented times 2 or 3. And he uses the example of the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard guy that they fly out there in a helicopter to get over a wreck, and that guy jumps into the water, and he's all mic'd up. He's wearing waterproof mics and stuff, and he swims over, secures the person, and radios back upstairs. And back upstairs, back up to the helicopter, to the medic up there, that this person is alert and oriented times 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0 means they're dead. 1 is that they are alive but unconscious. 2 is they're alive in and out of consciousness. 3 is that they're conscious but unaware of what's going on around them. He claims that most of us walk, of course, 4 and 5 is more aware. Number 5, they're fully alive, fully aware. He says that most people walk through life, and think about it. Most people walk through life alert and oriented, alive, unconscious, or in and out of awareness, or conscious and in and out of awareness. We have, experts say that we have Dr. Ruskin out of Stanford, the most recent study I've read on this, we have 60,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of those thoughts are repetitive. We just go through life. Just like if I got my car right now, I'm up in Cedar Park, Texas, and I wanted to drive downtown, I would remember very little of it. I'm not aware. I'm just going. It's just habitual, and it's okay, I guess. But it's, most of us think that we can text along the way, and that's why we can't. Austin, Texas, you're caught with a phone in your hand, it's a $500 fine. Okay, they're trying to make us keep us aware. Well, right. So if the more aware, and that's one of my hopes, one of my intentions through any program I'm in. I want people to become more aware, be alive, and alert and oriented times 5. Be totally alive, totally aware. But if 90% of our thoughts every day, the average person, 90% of our thoughts are repetitive. That's at best conscious and in and out of awareness. That's number 3, alert and oriented times 3. And we have more. However it is that they gauge data that we intake every day, bits of information. in the year 1900 in New York City, you take the average person in their whole entire life, how much data that came in through their five senses, that amount of data, you and I, it comes in through our five senses in a 1 week period today. And you can anybody can Google that, and there's some people are saying it's less than that. So all this information just puts us into autopilot, and we have so many opportunities around us, so many opportunities, but we can't see the opportunities. We're blinded to them because we don't understand our potential. We're just going through life. We're told to do, I see it with salespeople every day. Every day I see salespeople just going through, blah, 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 going through all this. Met with somebody today, and I asked him, some questions. And he just kind of, when you go to networking, what's your purpose for going there? Okay. And we just went through it, and he's alert and oriented times 3.
Wow.
And I want to help people be alert and oriented times 5.
Danny, you're awesome.
Yeah, well.
You've given us a lot of great information tonight, and we're bumping up against the hour, so I want to make sure we respect the video and the recording, so we put it on demand for you. It goes exactly an hour, if that's okay. I want to tell folks that are going to be listening to this on the player, please go over and Facebook group and type in A New Way to Think. I'll have this posted there, and of course I'm going to give Danny a copy to share out to his folks. But Danny, great having you tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Hurdy. I enjoyed it.
Well, man, I appreciate you being my coach, and I'm telling you, folks, if you guys are willing to step out and go to his website and get involved in this, it will change your business and personal life, I promise. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, doing these interviews with folks like you, Danny, because you guys help people change their lives, and it really is good. Thank you.
Yep. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks,
all right. Well, good night, my friend. Yep. Okay. Good night, and have a great evening. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, okay?
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Right. Good night.